Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of What They Don't Tell You About Doing Business in ... And this week, we're very excited to be covering Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'm Elliot Zissman. I run a company called Phase 2, and we help companies expand into the UK market, in fact, the whole of Europe, using LinkedIn as a primary tool. And my fellow host is Lisa. Say hello, Lisa.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shephard, and I'm based in Miami, Florida. And I have a business called AltusWorks, which supports global businesses looking to expand into the United States. So, yeah, very excited to be here today and talking about Bosnia and Herzegovina. Not an area I'm particularly familiar with, so it's a good learning curve for everybody.
Great, yes, hi. And I'm very excited to welcome Amar Buric, who I used to work with many years ago. Well, not that many years ago.
Yeah.
Amar, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, where you are, what you do.
Of course. Yeah. Hello, Elliot. And hello, Lisa. I appreciate the chance to feature the podcast. Yeah. So I'm Amar Buric, and I live in Bosnia. And I run a business called MOO. We are a business development agency, and basically what we do, we represent clients internationally, helping them to gain a little bit more exposure and, to find genuine opportunities to introduce their services or to, pitch their products, so to say. So this is my first time actually to feature the podcast, so I have to start with a confession. I hope that I will not represent Bosnia's business environment as a Wild West or whatsoever, yeah?
Well, I'm sure you won't. And that's a great place to kick off with a really simple question. You mentioned the Wild West. Lisa mentioned you don't know that much about Bosnia. Let's start with one thing. I know where you are, but tell everyone else, where is Bosnia?
Yeah. Geographically, we're located in the Western Balkans, bordering Croatia, Serbia, and Montenegro. And yeah, it's a small country, a little bit over 3 million people living there. And yeah, still looking for our way for the international exposure business-wise, So, yeah.
And what type of businesses, what are you known for from a business standpoint? What do you export? What do you import?
So it's not going to be like an easy answer, when you ask what people export from Brazil, it's going to be coffee, But from that standpoint, having this kind of a socialist legacy and everything, we are known for the industrial, complexes and exporting metalworks, manufacturing industries, textile, whatever. So yeah, I believe that would be some standpoint where we can start with, when it comes to exporting. So yeah, recently we're seeing a large increase in, I'd say exporting when it comes to tech businesses and technology companies starting businesses here, trying to go internationally, and they've been pretty successful. Yeah, so let's say.
And is there any kind of particular tech that there's been sort of a focus on, like fintech or whatever? Is there?
I don't know. I'm not really sure, but tech is by far the most successful industry when it comes to doing international business. Yeah. So not when it comes to financial transaction or whatsoever, but simply when it comes to doing international business in general, and many companies already back with clients in the US or Germany or United Kingdom. And basically they offer everything from, custom software development to AI solutions. The talent pool is kind of strong, so to say, and comparing to the Western Europe, so to say, operating costs are lower, and Bosnian software developers, they provide high quality work for a competitive price, to put it that way, Another industries like manufacturing or metalwork industry, automotive parts, etc., they exist as well. And like I said, many companies from Western Europe decide to invest in this part of the world due to a production being lower comparing to the EU, but the quality generally meets the European standard, and making it an attractive, opportunity for any company to invest here. To nearshore the supply chain or whatever, talking about that, I believe that we've seen a large increase when it comes to outsourcing services, customer support, call centers, dispatching agencies. They're growing rapidly, and many companies provide these services for the German market, US market. You can find a large number of people here that can actually speak close to native English or German, so companies are taking advantage of that, and they tend to invest that kind of money in Bosnia, and provide the service for the German market or US or whatever.
Yeah. So you're not. People may or may not know, but your country isn't in the EU, but it's pretty much almost surrounded by EU countries.
That's correct. Actually, we're surrounded by Croatia, and they are in the EU. We're aspiring. I don't think
do you think it gives you an advantage?
But I believe we'll get there at some point. So we're not. When you pay attention to the legislative and everything else, we're not in the EU, and we do not have the EU compliant business system. But I'm really hoping we'll get there one day. So.
Well, the UK isn't in the EU either.
It has its own complexity with that.
None of us are in the EU.
No.
But do you think there might be an advantage in terms of, from a regulations point of view, or is it quite challenging to set up a company and operate?
I actually gave it a thought, and I don't think that I'm remotely somebody who can actually give you an expert answer, but I've been through setting up a business, a couple of times actually, and I know the procedures. It's challenging, so to say. It's not impossible, but it's challenging, and bureaucracy is without doubt the number one challenge. The system itself is outdated, it's complicated, and I'd say it's a legacy from that old socialist structure. Registering a business, for example, it very often not even requires the legal assistance. Multiple in-person visits to different offices, stacks of paperbacks all the time. Digital solutions, for example, are being slowly introduced, but we don't have an existing online registration platform, so to say, to help us out. It's not that basic. It's always something slow, etc. I do know for a fact that we have the online business registration pilot program in one of the municipalities, but for now, most processes still have to be done manually. And you need.
Okay.
I don't know. It's
but
it's not just like government procedures. Banks operate in a similar slow and kind of a rigid way, I would say. And even though many banks here are kind of branches of larger European banking houses and institutions, they simply do not offer the same level of service or efficiency, And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I personally waited for 2 months to obtain simple charge card for a business, So simplest processes can take weeks or even months, So also digital signatures are not a thing over here, but you're already familiar with it. I believe we spoke about it last time over here, So physical documents, company stamps, it's still something that's been widely acceptable and necessary for most transactions or getting something done generally.
So obviously you mentioned sort of outsourcing and a little bit about the talent pool, but it would be good to understand a bit more about the talent pool in terms of the universities, the types of, sort of degrees people are coming out with, and also languages sounds like a really positive thing, right? So, you mentioned German and obviously a high level of English, but any other languages and what's that talent pool like in terms of graduates?
Bosnia, Serbia, Croatia, we all have similar business culture here. Strong talent, slow bureaucracy, and preference to face-to-face meetings, and etc. But when it comes to exploring the talent pool, I believe it's very strong, but yet not explored as much as some other countries that are getting more and more chances to, close a deal with the EU-based countries, etc. So I believe there's a large number of well-educated people in Bosnia who are yet to be found by companies elsewhere. And this is why I believe that Bosnia is a very strong, strong talent pool where companies should pay more attention, explore the companies, give chances, and even surpass some of the obstacles that they usually get onto, and simply give chances and provide further education and try to adapt people from this region to your own kind of business system. I'm sure you will get a very large number of people who actually do the work properly for a fraction of whatever you would pay somebody from, local area, etc. So, yeah.
And is the, as with many, countries, there's cost advantages versus being located in London or Miami, right?
Obviously, yeah.
The time zone is, from a European perspective, right in the middle. Is the culture, though, with young people, there's a lot of countries whereby people are emigrating quite widely for a certain period of time. Young people say, right, I'm going to spend 2 years, 3 years in Germany, in France, in Britain. Is that something where you see people go away, learn new skills, and then come back?
I'm really glad that you were asking me this. So glad that I can't wait for you to finish. So I interrupted you, and I apologize.
No.
I was hoping that because this is not a scripted conversation, obviously, but I was hoping to ask that. Yes, I've seen it, and we've been experiencing it. Obviously, as you know, the Bosnia had a large brain drain, so to say, where young people tend to leave the country and, seek their fortune elsewhere, and we've seen a large number of people leaving the country in pursuing a better life, for them professionally, for their families, etc. But now, in the past couple of years, the trend of people who have left the country, in the 90s or early 2000s, they're coming back, investing here, and they've already experienced the education in the, Nordics, UK, Germany. They started businesses there. They've been successful so far, and now what they are trying to actually do is to return to Bosnia, fully migrate the businesses here, or simply opening up a branch or an office to, explore the local talent or give the opportunity to the Bosnian people to work for such companies. And with them, when they return, obviously, they bring a lot of that Western standard and education and, know how to do businesses and everything, and they transfer the knowledge to the locals and obviously start a successful story. So, yeah, we've seen it too many times, like, a lot of companies like Authority Partners, Zendev, Roller, a lot of them actually, and their owners, they went at some point out of the Bosnia, get education, started the business, get familiar with how it's being done, and then they tend to choose and, return to Bosnia and operate from here, obviously. So I hope this trend will continue on and on, because we do need more and more educated people and more successful business stories, obviously.
And what, for those of us coming from maybe the US, what cultural nuances should people be aware of, especially when you're doing business in Bosnia?
Yeah, so I don't know. It's going to sound like a cliche, obviously, but trust is everything. Whenever we speak about doing business anywhere, you need to establish some trust before you can get over the line. But business in Bosnia is highly relationship driven, and deals are rarely closed through emails or online meetings. So probably anybody from the US or any other country who is expecting to get in touch with local business in Bosnia, they will have to expect, multiple in-person meetings and handshakes and, coffees and lunches and stuff like that before any formal agreements are going to be reached, So not just about discussing business itself, you can do that obviously by online meetings, etc. But it's about getting to know the person behind the business, yeah? So this kind of in-person meetings and handshakes are kind of a crucial part of the process, So yeah, I know this approach can be frustrating for companies that used to, fast transactional deals, as said. But once you establish trust with somebody here, business relationships in Bosnia tend to be strong and long term. So foreign companies entering the market should invest time into networking and personal connections, so to say. I believe it's the best way to gain credibility here in Bosnia. Yeah.
When we did, when Lisa and I discussed the US, and actually, we talked about how things are very different regionally, but it's a massive country.
Mm-hmm.
When we talked about the UK, we also talked about London being sometimes different to the rest of the UK. And that's understandable in a way because the UK is so centered on London financially at times. In your country, it's much smaller, but then, and this is going to be a dumb question that maybe you can explain to everyone, but it's got two names. It's Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah, it's probably the longest name in Europe, maybe anywhere. In the Eurovision Song Contest, it definitely takes a while to read out. But talk us just briefly, just tell us, are these two separate regions, countries brought together? Obviously, this has come out of a war from a little while ago. So tell us a little bit, and how does that impact doing business? Are they just completely two separate entities, or just need to be aware?
So through geographical regions, the Herzegovina is the southern part of the country, while the Bosnia consists of the central and northern part of the country itself. When it's are people different? Yes, but not by a large difference, not by a large margin. So there's a couple of things that, makes them different, but generally there's not, I don't think it's, a large difference as it is when you compare somebody from London or somebody from, Newcastle, for example. So yeah, it has its perks to live in Sarajevo or anywhere else, but I don't think it's that much different,
Okay. So we don't want to generalize, but of course Sarajevo is maybe slightly different to your hometown.
Sarajevo and Mostar are probably kind of, I'd say business hubs when it comes to, when you take a look at Bosnia's, business scene, so to say. Sarajevo obviously being a capital and everything. It's I could probably compare it to London when you consider it into when you put two different pictures, Bosnia and the UK, for example, while the Mostar would be probably the Manchester, the second largest business hub.
Okay. Sorry, go on, Lisa.
No, I was gonna just what would be the one thing that you think people would be surprised about when visiting for the first time? So you go off the plane, I'm assuming in Sarajevo. What do you think? You've never been to Bosnia before. What surprises people the most?
Yeah. So I'm not really sure, but when you put it that way, many people that never been here, they very often than not tend to sync Bosnia with the 90s and the war and everything. So infrastructurally, we're far away from that. We look just like a regular place. Yeah, you're about to visit. But what would be surprised? People are nice, I believe. People are nice. Food is great. Tourism generally is growing. We're a mountainous region with great touristic capacity, so to say. There's a lot of things to visit: historical sites, mountains, ski resorts during the winter. We have a little bit of sea as well.
It is a tiny bit of sea. It's a fascinating bit of sea. You have Montenegro with the beautiful, which is becoming very popular in Croatia, which is very beautiful. And then right halfway between Croatia, there's a bit of Bosnia that pops out. Yes.
We have a city called Neum, and we have a little bit of sea access there. But, what would be interesting, I believe that we've had a news report. Well, it's a TV report actually from a couple of years back, where a TV reporter had to ski in the morning and for a swim in the seaside in the afternoon at the same day.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't think they can do that in the UK. Yeah,
it's not enough.
You can do neither. You can do neither in the UK.
Exactly. So being a small country has backs. Obviously, you're 3.5 hours away from Croatia, seaside. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, my stepbrother went to Bosnia a few months ago for skiing.
Cool.
And apparently it's a big destination. I had no idea it was such a big destination for skiing. And he flew from Dubai. So yeah, that was my big learning. I had no idea. So there you go.
Yeah, one of the biggest actually in the Balkans, so to say, comparing to Bulgaria and Serbia. We've got Bjelash and Sandiarina, two Olympic mountains with the ski resorts. Very advanced one, when you compare it to other European resorts. So yeah.
Awesome.
I think we've learned a lot here, Lisa. What do you?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think everyone should go and at least visit Bosnia, check it out. If you're looking to expand your business into that part of the world, sounds like a great option.
Yeah, and if you're looking into that part of the Western Balkans, it sounds to me like maybe some challenges setting things up, right, Amar? But
obviously, yeah,
there's a cost advantage. I think places like Croatia are becoming quite fastly increasing in costs, being all very popular with tourists and things.
Exactly, yeah.
And you've got a stable area. Certainly, maybe with Serbia and Kosovo and Albania nearby, you're probably the most stable, from an investment point of view. But that could be. Go on.
I don't know. I can't. I hope. Yeah. I think. I mean, there's always political turmoil, but generally, it's a stable country for investment, and there's been a lot of investment lately, and so I believe it is a place that anyone should consider. At least consider, explore, learn about it, and then make a decision. So yeah.
And if they've got any questions, we can put your contact details on YouTube. But if you want to. You're on LinkedIn and things like that, right?
Yes, of course.
Is there any one of you on LinkedIn? Maybe, but they'll find you.
Yeah, of course. You can put in the details. I'd be happy to connect with anybody willing to explore this part of the world. Sure.
Great. Thank you very much, Amar.
Always a pleasure.
And thank you to those listening or watching it, and we'll be back with the next episode as soon as we can. So that's goodbye from me.
And from me, thank you.
Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to feature, and it was a pleasure talking to you. So everybody out there, cheers.